Hi, and welcome to another edition of Spite Incorporated with your host, Nace Flaw. And just real quick, I want to point out, isn't this a weird world nowadays that, like, customer service really is focused on technology? I think because of integration. Like, you never called customer service about a table. You know, a table is kind of its own thing in your living room. It may have to kind of go with the rest of your, it has to go with the rest of your color scheme and your furniture and the size of the room, etc. But you never called up IKEA saying, like, help me place this, help me build it, help me do anything with this table. There's no reason to. But digital products nowadays, like, the more something is connected to other crap, the more you got to call tech support, right? Because then it doesn't connect. And then, of course, who do you call? Your laptop, your HP laptop doesn't connect to your Netgear router. Is that HP's fault? Is it Netgear's? Is it none of the above? Because it turns out it's not the router's fault, it's actually your cable provider. All very confusing. But I don't really want to talk about digital products. I was thinking of that as customer service called me up saying, I have a customer who just downloaded Windows 8.1 and downloaded Internet Explorer 11, and it can no longer access his webmail. Well, that's great. We don't support those things. And customer service was blown away when I said that. We don't support it? No. Well, so you expect me to go back and tell him that we don't support it? Well, either you can or I can. But listen, both of us are using Windows XP machines, which stops downloading Internet Explorer at 7 or 8, I think. And how am I supposed to, like, the last document we have for even Outlook, for instance, was for Outlook 2007. So I don't know what you want me to tell you. And so she puts the customer through, and he has this lovely Southern accent. I love Southern accents. There's a woman that called in today, and goddamn, if that woman could have gotten me to do anything with that Southern twang of hers. But this gentleman, he says, you know, he's not that techie, and he just downloaded all this stuff, which kind of contradicts each other, because if you're not that techie, why do you have the latest and greatest? Just kind of curious about that. Who convinced you to buy that stuff? But he's like, so this won't work in Internet Explorer. I'm like, okay, great, download Firefox. Problem solved. Because if Internet Explorer wants to, you know, treat the company's website, the company's webmail as something funky, well, use a different browser. I'm using Firefox 24. It's the latest and greatest. It works just fine. So he did. Problem solved. Just kind of strange that, you know, the more things are connected, the more we expect them to just kind of flow seamlessly. And there's whole communities about fixing the things that don't connect. You know, like, Apple doesn't want you loading Windows on its machines. Can you? Yes. Thanks to a very specific community of programmers that wanted to see that happen, and so went about making it happen. But then, you know, people expect tech support to have the same level of support, and we just don't. I got to be honest with you. I mean, we want to be friendly. We want to help you out as much as possible. And, you know, it's not the customers that we have an issue with. Because you tell a customer, like, yeah, you have something that we don't support. Like, there's a line and you're beyond it. They usually go, oh, okay, so I'll try somebody else. I'll take it to Geek Squad. I'll Google it, whatever. But customer service, man, they expect their tech support to just be the be-all. They really want just to get the customer off the line. Because that's their job. And they don't want to answer. They don't want to be the final anything. the resolution. But now I think I'm just bitching. I mean, I'm kind of telling the truth, but I don't want to bitch, because there are plenty of good customer service workers out there, and some of them, though, I mean, you gotta love them. These people that they know how to answer a phone, they know how to be pleasant, and at this point, that's, depending on the company, that's not all you need. And because I know a guy, there's actually a position opening in my department that when it comes to customer service, God, I love the man. He's so incredibly good with people. He used to work in collections, so he really knows how to deal with hostile customers. He and I were in the same department for content gathering for a web design company, and we dealt with all types there, because that was a direct line. There was no customer service. You called into us directly, and we hoped that you would be calling the correct line. Many times people weren't. That's why this different company, they have customer service. There is no direct line to help cut down on our issues. And at the same time, the reverse is not much gets done. So we almost always deal with customer service, right? So I'm in the tech support. There's always the filter of customer service. Well, they're getting 5,000 calls a day, right? We're getting, at our worst, maybe 80. And in that 80, let's say even 2 of them did something incorrectly. They transferred the wrong department. The bane of my existence, they did a cold transfer. I got very lippy with a customer, a law firm, guy at a law firm today, who was just like, I have 3 domains, how come you don't know which one I'm talking about? Well, first off, because somebody cold transferred you, and I don't even know what your account is. Second off, I see an email that you sent to my department talking about one of the domains. And third, because you're rude, and you can't just explain the situation. I just told you I don't know what your account is. So I don't know what the situation is. Give me some background. And we got it sorted out eventually. But my manager overheard this discussion, and he messages me. He's like, "So, cold transfer, give me the details. I'll give feedback to the appropriate department." And so if we get 2 calls that are messed up, out of 5,000 a day, they don't care. Why would they? It's statistically, there's no reason to care about 1/2500th of your incoming calls that day. So, what are you going to do? But writing, I wanted to get back to writing. I haven't talked, other than the guy at the counter at Pizza Hut, I haven't really talked to anybody since I clocked out, and so, of course, my first thought is work. But that's kind of related. So I wanted to talk about being a beginner writer. Because there are podcasts out there for people that are struggling, for freelancers, for, they're advanced, though. They are telling you this from point B. No matter what they say, they are not at point A like you and I are. Or like I am. I don't know where you are, but I'm at point A. I wrote something. I consider it done. I tried publishing it on Amazon myself, and it was a miserable failure. It really was. I also stopped trying to promote it because I saw what kind of uphill sort of battle that was, and I was not invested in. I did not believe in the product enough to face that kind of challenge. I see other authors. I'm not saying anything about self-publishing, but when you're self-publishing, you really need to feel strongly about your work. Otherwise, you're not going to give your 110%, and therefore, you're not going to face the challenges and look for new opportunities the way that you would if you really liked what you were selling. And that'll show. That'll show to buyers or potential buyers. And so I am at point A. People that do podcasts, etc., do blogs, a lot of times are at point B. Or they try to pretend that they're at point B. There's a lot of tweets every day about how to write, and how to do this, and how to sell that, and I really question how much writing is being done of the actual product, and how much is being done on a blog about writing. You see the 500 words on, so this is how a writer should tweet. And so that's 500 words, and however long it took you to write that could have gone elsewhere. Could have gone into your work in progress. I don't know. So my thought is, hobby. How do you tell your family, not even that you have this, basically what's a hobby at this point, but how do you tell them that you just need some space? And I wish I could tell you the answer. I try to ninja it. There's no family obligations. I don't have to call anyone. I don't have to go anywhere. The wife is working on schoolwork in the office. There's nothing on TV. And that's when I open up my Word document and go to town. Others would tell you have to set a time and tell your family, this is my time, I need it. There's one problem with that: self-control, and you not having any. If you say from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. every day, I need this, I need to be in the office, I need to be on the computer, and because I want to work toward this goal. Your family may be very supportive, but God help you if at 7 o'clock you're not in that room, on that computer, working toward that goal. Because if they see you in the living room, watching TV, or in the kitchen, making yourself a snack, well, then tomorrow they're not going to give a damn what the boundary is at 7 to 8. They are going to assume that you've given up, and maybe not explicitly. Maybe they don't know. They won't admit it, but they will basically walk all over your boundary, right? And maybe it won't be the next day, but it's Monday. You did the 7 to 8, and it was great. Tuesday, maybe you watched TV until 7:05, and then eventually made it to the computer, and then maybe you typed out something. Then Wednesday, you made it to the computer, but they saw you just sitting there playing Minesweeper. What kind of message does this say? What does that say about you? What does that say about them? What are you asking them to do? And I don't know the answers to these questions. And these people that are at point B, their answers were very particular, and so they try to tell point A what to do, and that's fine. It's appreciated most of the time, but then there's a lot of responsibility at point A. You're taking point B's suggestions. You have to compare them to your own life, see which are applicable, and you have to have the responsibility of actually following those steps and figuring out which ones work for you. With writing or making music or basically making anything, I would think the final answer is, did you make it? And how much of it was completed in this setting, and try to improve upon that. And then of course, once you reach a particular point of how much are you putting out there, then you can consider the quality. At least these are the thoughts that I would have. I need to ramp up my output. It doesn't go that well. And let me share a weird point that I'm at. There's a particular beat, right, to every work. There's a beat to it. They call it the action beat in some sense. But there's a rhythm, a particular speed to everything that is produced, or at least there should be. And it ebbs, it flows. It's not always consistent, because sometimes you gotta do the slow, soft, quiet moment before the real loud. That way is to better contrast it, right? And I'm kind of thinking and kind of switching between action movies and music here at this point. But so I'm at this particular scene that an agent of the antagonist calls up the protagonist, Eddie, and asks him a question. And at first, the first draft had Eddie make a wisecrack, and the guy hangs up on him, and the section just ends with Eddie going, "The bastard hung up on me." Right? End. The beat ended. There's a 4 count. That was number 4. Done. But it didn't seem right. Something about it just didn't seem right to me. Yes, it ended on a beat, but it wasn't honest. So I had to go back, think about it. Maybe the guy did hang up on Eddie. Eddie's not going to admit that. It's not even a pride thing. It's that he wouldn't notice. You ever see somebody steps into your way, or they almost elbow you in the face in line, and you think, how come you didn't notice I was here? There are just personalities that are completely absorbed in their own world and don't notice you. You don't notice a lot of people. We all do it. It is impossible to be completely observant of everything going around you at all times. So at some point you're going to do this too. But for my protagonist, he doesn't notice that somebody hangs up on him because he doesn't care. In his world, he's the one who hangs up on others, because he feels that he's strong. Not the hero. That's different. But he feels that he's strong in particular ways. He's strong in a lot more ways than he knows, because it's still the beginning of the book. We're leading up to the first quarter. That we're at 20% at this point, and the protagonist and the antagonist are about to meet, and I'm so excited for that, because so far the antagonist from page 1 has been present, but in a very indirect manner. A lot of activities that have been going on are because of the antagonist, and nobody knows this. And she's about to just come out and be much more direct to the protagonist than she has been thus far. And so begins, 25 to 50% of the book. But right now, it's just the lead up. It's kind of the dancing. And so that's... I wound up going back and saying he didn't admit that he was hung up on. He says he hangs up the phone, which is a little more ambiguous. And he looks at the reaction of another person in the room to see if they're awake. and they are. And this other person is in pain from an accident, and so he looks at the face, and that face knows what just went on better than the protagonist ever will. And he sees the pain and just assumes that it's because the person is in pain and on painkillers and, kind of wonky. Has no idea that it's connected to him knowing what that phone call just was. And that's when it ends. Not Eddie just reacting to the phone call, but Eddie reacting to the friend in the room and going, you know what, this guy is just, he's giving me too much weird this week. I gotta book it. And what will wind up happening later is I plan on feeding in somewhere, not the protagonist or the antagonist, but kind of a sidekick. The sidekick is the one who made the call, and his point of view of that call. And it'll be real quick, just him saying, like, he hung up on the character. Now, who's to say? Maybe they hung up at the same time. But it's ambiguous that way. And that way, I don't know, it's not as concise. It's not as clear of a beat, in my opinion. It's not that loud snare hit. But it still feels like a decent end of the beat. So, and that's the stuff that, people, writers at all points think about, but it's, I don't know, is it just me? I don't think so. That's how I look at a scene. That's how I look at a scene that I also have to go back on, because I don't normally hit the backspace. I'm usually much more of an adder, because I try to be concise and wind up forgetting, whole sections of dialogue and descriptions and things. So it's weird of me to backspace, but I backspace because it wasn't that I forgot to say the guy was wearing pants. It's that I completely changed it from he's wearing pants to he's wearing shorts. To me that's big. I don't know. It's getting late though. I should try to get some writing done. That would be nice. But I thought I'd, bust something out while I could. Hope you appreciate it. Of course, I would love it if you liked Facebook page, facebook.com/acoincidence, or tweet me at acoincidence. Or there's, plenty of ways to, all these links and more at black-ring.net. Check that out. Yeah. I don't know. I kind of mopey. I'm sorry. Here's hoping you're feeling better tonight. You have a good one. I'll talk to you next Wednesday. Peace.